Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 2324. Today, another look at, from a certain point of view, the short story collection celebrating the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back, and today we're going to talk about the Bespin side of things. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So comparatively speaking, I would say that the Bespin section of From a Certain Point of View is the other significant section in terms of spending time on one particular location, looking at a series of scenes from a bunch of different angles. There are, I believe it's 10 stories that relate to Bespin specifically. Now, I will say that, I don't know how much of this is the book itself or if this is me, but I did talk about how in the non-spoiler review episode, how, of course, not every story is going to be A++ spectacular, and the thing about it, with it just being me, maybe, is that maybe it's just that I'm not going to resonate with some of these stories, and that's perfectly fine, right? So I will say that for me, at least, the Bespin portion of this collection did not resonate as strongly with me as other sections of the book did. And maybe a portion of that is sort of an investment situation, right? So Lando appears in a few of these stories, and those stories I really did enjoy. And that is basically where it stopped for me. And there's a lot of comedy involved in those stories too, like But What Does He Eat?, which is the story by S.A. Chakraborty about the chef who has to cook the meal for Vader and Leia and Han. And Fake It Till You Make It by Kevin Scott, which features Jackson, the giant green rabbit, who was originally introduced in the Star Wars comics back in the 70s and has now been brought back into canon and manages to find his way onto Cloud City for nefarious purposes. And then there's Faith in an Old Friend, which actually goes across a longer span of storytelling. Bespin is a part of it, but it starts with the Millennium Falcon in the Exogorth, and it actually features L337 and the other two brains inside the Millennium Falcon, and the Bespin portion involves Lando actually going onto the ship, which gives us the opportunity for a very touching reunion of sorts between Lando and L3. And there's a lot of comedy in that one as well. There's also one that is a great standout story, and one that I haven't mentioned yet either. So kind of two standout stories I'd love to flag for you as well. And I'll do that in just a second. I do want to give a quick note about First Book here. This is what we're doing with our little PSA spot, if you will, this week. So as I've mentioned a few times, all of the authors donated their proceeds from writing these stories to First Book, and Penguin Random House and Disney Lucasfilm are also making donations to First Book. So here's another bit about First Book. It says from their website, with an additional 1,000 educators joining each week, First Book is the largest and fastest growing network of educators in the United States exclusively serving kids in need. First Book members work in classrooms, after school and summer or early childhood programs, shelters and health clinics, libraries, community programs, military support programs, and other settings serving a majority of children in need. And you can learn more about them and their work at firstbook.org. All right, so a particular standout from this section of the book is Right Hand Man by Lydia Kang. And it's the story from 21B's perspective of him giving Luke Skywalker his cybernetic hand. But there are a lot of interesting conversations that he and Luke have during this process. And additionally, I also enjoy it when droids get sassy with each other, and 21B and FX7 do not apparently like each other very much, and so there is some snappy back and forth between the two of them and snappy references about them that are really good fun. And I also want to give a shout out to Rendezvous Point by Jason Fry, which is a great fun story from the perspective of Wedge Antilles, and it's about the reforming of Red Squadron and dealing with a threat that happens while the Rebel Alliance is waiting to gather everybody together at that rendezvous point. Also featuring the mysterious Contessa, who is the leader of Corona Squadron, who first appeared in Lost Stars by Claudia Gray, which is a lovely surprise as well. So yeah, that one is actually, and I don't know if this is the case, I didn't check the page numbers, but feels like one of the longer stories comparatively in there, but also is masterfully done and just, brings you along the whole way, and also has very funny elements in it as well. So that is going to do it for our talk about, from a certain point of view, about The Empire Strikes Back today, and that's going to do it for this show as well. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.